Hi, it's Sarah Jane here from Natural Heating, and I've been lucky enough today to be able to come to this customer's house and video the newly installed FPi8 Inset fire from Charlton Jenrick, which my customers just had put in today. The fireplace isn't yet finished and the room isn't decorated as yet, but the stove has been installed and we're just about to do the commissioning work and like this. Even getting a cup of tea, bless you, thank you. No, thanks very much for letting me come and do this today. We'll take it through. So here is the newly installed Inset fire. The room hasn't been decorated as yet. It's a lovely big room, which is approximately 24 foot by 15 foot. And this is an 8 kilowatt nominal output stove, which required an air vent. The room hasn't yet been decorated. The plasterer, I believe, is coming on Monday. The hearth was the original hearth which has been left. You can see that all the original stone fascia surround has been knocked off and taken away, and this hearth has to be replaced at a later date once they've decided what to do with it. Probably next year once they've decided on the flooring. So they're just going to finish the breast for now. So it's just exactly the same as an FPi8 wide. And this has the 4-sided trim, and it's the 2-inch wide standard trim. The firebox right the way round behind this trim has been insulated and wrapped. Now, Inset stoves used to get a bad rep, and to be honest, they deserved a bad rep. They weren't very good in days of gone old, but they've really come on in more recent times, and they are now really good at throwing heat forwards into the room, especially when you wrap the fireboxes, which in most cases really is critical. We always follow the manufacturer's instructions on that because some manufacturers don't want you to wrap them. So I'm just going to light a kindling fire. It does come, like the 5 wide version of the same fire, it does come with blocks that are space savers inside the firebox to basically make it smaller if you're burning smokeless fuel, because it is a multi-fuel model. There is a 7-year extended warranty, which you have to go online and register. If you don't register it, you only get 1-year warranty with the likes of me as your dealer. The rest of that extended warranty is relying on you registering it with Charlton. The registration process is really easy. You literally just go on and fill the form out online and put in the serial number and your address and the installer's name and registration number, and that's it, it's done. So it really is best to just do it the day that you have it fitted. Get on with it, and we're ready to go. So I'm just putting some logs in this firebox, and these are 10-inch splits, although the one at the back is more like 12-inch. It's definitely not 10-inch. And as per normal, stack some kindling on the inside, like agenda, with a fire lighter. There is one in my pocket somewhere. A fire lighter in between, and some more kindling on top. Oh, now don't go too skimpy on your first fire when you're first lighting a unit. We want to get that going nice and hot, get the chimney heated up and get it up to temperature. So we have our top vent open. You can see the plus and minus on that side. You can operate it with the door closed. Plus is obviously open, minus is shut. You can see it sliding, that vent. On the bottom one, it's backwards. You've got minus and you've got plus. So it's the opposite way round from the top one, which is a bit weird. So we'll have that one open, that one shut. Cool, done that up tight. I think that was Carrie that done that one, because I couldn't even undo it. She's obviously made of strong stuff. Right. So that's our kindling pile lit. And I'm going to leave the door off the latch, slightly on the latch. No, just off. The door slightly ajar. Well, that takes. Just give it a chance to heat up. quite a still and warm day out there today. Beautifully sunny for October. It's gorgeous. I think it was showing about 15 or 16 degrees when I came in. So given it's just all new and there's not a lot of draw out there because it's not cold and it's not windy, it's very, very still. It just takes a little while to get going. Now this is the upside down method of fire lighting. So it starts off really slowly by warming your chimney. So the heat that we're creating from the kindling, you can't see with the reflection, is that better? The heat that we're creating with the kindling is near the top of the firebox. And one by one, those layers are going to burn down, each time increasing in temperature and turbulence until we catch fire to the logs. So the fire gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And that heats your chimney up faster. So because we're not having a dip in pressure, it means that it's very unlikely to smoke back and it's very unlikely not to light the first time. There you go. If I sit round this way, I can drink my tea. It's got a lovely cup of tea. And you can actually see what is going on behind me at the same time, because we're not getting the reflection issues in the glare on the glass this way. Sometimes it takes a bit of working out how to do things for the best. So this gentleman had a huge big fake fireplace in front. Might be lucky enough to have a picture of it that we can include somewhere, which was then knocked out and a new lintel put in higher so it could be raised off the ground for a better fire view when you're viewing from the sofa, so you're looking more straight into the fire. And also because you don't need to kneel down so far to load it, really, to be honest. You can't do that with every space, but this one, this space when we opened up this newer, it's a newer built house, kind of 1960, late 1960s onwards, 1970s I think. So you're never going to get a huge fireplace opening, but it was big enough to be able to open it up wide enough and high enough to get this good sized burner in, which is the best you could achieve in this size room. You were never going to get a big fireplace for a big freestanding stove within a hole, so it was going to be a tiny stove in not very big hall. And that's why sometimes inset fires are a good option. And given that they are now convection casings, that means it's like a box within a box. And then we've insulated the outside of it. The whole point is that it throws the heat into the room really quickly with almost no heat loss into the walls. And these stoves are now like about 80% efficient. So if I just look up the manual and double check this for you. Technical data, page 8. Alrighty, so the FPi8, which is this stove, has a heat output range of 5.5 to 11 kilowatt. 11 kilowatt for any inset fire is big, and it can run on a 5-inch flue. And this has been installed on a 5-inch flue system. And it will burn lovely on a 5-inch flue system. It has an efficiency rate of 78.4, which is really good. You wouldn't notice a difference between a couple of percent lower or a couple of percent higher, to be honest, because of how much fuel they burn. They burn really minimal. And there's two ways of controlling a fire these days. There's how much draw you've got through the flue, and in other words, how fast your burn is. And there's how many logs you put in that door, because 3 logs will burn as fast as 1 log. We need enough fuel to get it going, but once it's actually going, we want to burn as little fuel as possible for the amount of heat output we need. In other words, if you need less heat output, don't put as many logs in. So you can see that this is picking away quite nicely behind me. Isn't it nice? We're hitting that glare again. There, we're not hitting the glare now, so I wonder if I can zoom in. No, it won't let me zoom in that way round. I'll try flipping it round the other way and see if we can get a better view inside the firebox. Right, I'm somewhat fighting reflections. Whoever I move, this seems to be about the best position we're going to get. So yes, the Jenga pile on top takes longer to light, but it's constantly increasing in intensity of fire and the pressure and amount of volume of heat going up that chimney to push the cold air out. So we're now down to our bottom layer of kindling, but you can see how much burn time is left in that kindling. Loads and loads and loads. It's hardly made a mark on it. So there's lots of structure. There we go. There's that reflection issue again. But it's not far away and it'll catch those bottom logs. And these are kiln dried birch and burn incredibly well, very hot, very clean, very dry, and I like using them for test fires and for commissioning fires. So every first fire a customer has, we know that that stove runs correctly on their property, and if they move on to other fuel later and it doesn't burn so well, or it's getting black through moisture content in the wood or various other different things, we can remember that first fire they had and then it was burning right the day it went in, and go back to ground basics and start again. So as soon as these logs are caught properly, which they will be in the next minute or two, I will just fully shut that door. It's been a good 5 minutes or so since I lit that fire, and the kindling fire has developed nicely and my logs at the bottom are now catching. Oh, how do we get rid of that glare? That's better. I can get rid of that light that way. Still there. That height, that will do nicely. Yeah, okay. So the door is still slightly ajar and the actual logs are starting to catch fire. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to shut that door and lock it. Nothing else. I'm not going to change the air vents. So you see that the fire drops back slightly for a minute or two, and then it's going to keep increasing with intensity and heat that chimney up further. Now what is also going to happen behind me is these lining bricks are going to start to go black or blackish, and that blackish that you're going to see is carbon because the chimney's not yet up to temperature, so it just needs to fully heat up, and then it'll burn back off and it'll burn back to being clear. So this stove is ceramic lined on the inside, which means it takes a wee bit longer to heat up typically than a vermiculite lined stove. Some manufacturers also know it as chamotti, I believe, but basically it's like a compressed clay type bricking with wire reinforcements through it. They can still crack just like other fryer bricks, but they should effectively last longer and store the heat longer, although they take a bit longer. There's a lot of longers. They take a bit longer to heat up than what a vermiculite stove does, both for the intensity of the fire and the heat out into the room. Now, I can really feel that heat on my arm and my shoulder coming through the glass in the stove, and I am sat on the edge of the hearth, but it won't be long before I need to move away. But my logs are all starting to catch quite nicely now. My fire's not dropped back. The chimney's pulling beautifully. There's no issues there, and this is on a 5-inch liner. So just flipped you round again so that you can see. Oh, that glare with the sunshine is not great, is it? So you can see that the bark on there is catching. You can see that the bricks are starting to tarnish in the back corners. You can see that there's still a bit of smoky residue coming off the flame, just because it's not up to temperature yet. We'll shortly smell the paint start to go off on the stove as it starts to heat up. All of that's totally normal, nothing to worry about there at all. You might even sometimes smell the oily residue of the liner burning off as well. But there should be enough heat in there that if I could just crack the door and give it a few seconds before I fully open it, you see that that's burning nicely. For some reason, and we don't really know why, I'm presuming it's something to do with moisture content in clay or ceramic bricks, the very first time you light the fire, they seem to take longer to heat up than they do in subsequent burns. So on the first fire, they typically take about 30-40 minutes to clear. On subsequent burns, they tend to take more like about 15, maybe 20 at a push. I think it's probably just residual moisture content or whatever from the bricks when they're pressed. I mean, they feel dry, but there's got to be moisture in there somewhere, I guess, like curing logs. Not totally sure on that one, but it's not anything to worry about. It just means that you have to wait longer till it clears. But as you can see, I've got a nice clean glass, but the fire bricks in the back are still a bit grubby. I'm trying to do it the other way around to show you. but I'm struggling a bit with the reflections in here today. Right, we can see it at that angle here. You'll see that kind of black, smutty, smoky lining in the inside. That will all burn back to being cream. It just needs to be hot enough to burn it all off. And I guess any moisture or anything in these bricks just take time to clear. The glass is nice and clean. I've just popped another log on there in the middle to give it a chance to take and properly heat up, because my initial lighting ones had taken nicely. There's plenty of burn time left in it, but I'm just trying to create that hot red ember base on the floor. And the bright light isn't ideal to show you, but from whatever angle you're going to come in this room at, when that fire is up to temperature, it will be beautiful, because that whole lining will go back to being cream. And by mounting it off the floor, when you're sat down, you're looking directly into that fire rather than down into the fire if it was at floor level. Not always an option, but it can be a really pretty thing to do if your chimney will take it. Another walk around from the other side to let you see. But take my word for it, it's starting to clear in the inside. And you can't see any smoky residue in the flames now. So there should be no smoke coming out that chimney by now, because we'll have heated the flue up nicely. The glass is clean as a whistle. Just heating the firebox up enough. I've opened the bottom vent on this to give it a bit more of a boost, a little bit quicker, so that we're not sat here waiting too long, because I'm sure this lovely gentleman doesn't want me in his house all day. But, we've got a nice blairy fire in there now. Pretty, isn't it? Toasty. Lovely. Burning really sweet, and this is on a 5-inch flue, which is quite abnormal for a stove of this sort of size for an inset stove, because most of them are 6 inches, but it can run really nice on a 5. There's no trouble in this on a 5-inch flue if you have to. This isn't a 2-storey chimney. If it has a stove this size, if it had to go into a bungalow, I would definitely rather it be on a 6-inch flue to give it more extraction when you first light it. But I've got the boost vent open at the moment, and I'll turn it down. It'll die back a little bit, not much, but that's only the boost vent, which is meant to get it going. And you can see the firebox is starting to brighten up in the top and the inside. So what I'm going to just do at the moment is this will get hot. This is your top air control that you can turn down. Helps me go the right direction. You can instantly hear the difference as you're just in the draw, and you can see the control on that fire turning right back. Now we don't want it down to the lowest, because it's not going to combust off all the gases, so we're going to knock it open a little bit more. And that'll balance off beautifully on the inside. And as mentioned, this fire isn't fully up to temperature, but you can watch a full video on the FPi range of stoves, including the FPi8 wide and the FPi in my other videos, and I'll try and pop a link in the box to that so you can view it in full. Other than that, I'm going to leave the lovely Mr. and Mrs. Spence in peace and get back to the office. See you later. There you go, bless him. He's out there doing his pond. I better go and say cheerio. Worth seeing that from outside.
Yeah.
You cannot see anything out that chimney. It's burning sweet as a nut, clear as a bell, which is just the way that it should be. You see it burning if you have a look in the window.